Have you ever felt like modern life is just a bit too much sometimes? Too fast? Too loud? Have you ever found yourself spinning in circles between work, relationships, and all sorts of pressures, both seen and unseen, only to pause and wonder, where am I even going? What do I really want? How can I live a more meaningful and happier life amidst all this chaos? Maybe in those moments of feeling adrift, you've wished for a map, a compass, or simply a wise friend to share the load, to show the way. And you know what? There's a field, one that often seems distant and maybe even intimidating, that holds an incredible wealth of answers and guidance we might be searching for. And that field is philosophy. Now hold on. I know what you might be thinking. When you hear the word philosophy, does your mind immediately jump to thick textbooks, long, complicated names, and abstract, dry theories that you just couldn't wait to be done with back in school? I've been there too. Honestly, philosophy class was a bit of a nightmare for me as a student. I studied just enough to pass the exams with zero real interest. We, as regular people, already have so much on our plates. Bills, work, family. Who has the time or mental energy to delve into something so highbrow, right? But my friends, what if I told you that philosophy isn't nearly as far removed as we think? What if I told you it's not just theories on paper, but incredibly powerful tools and precious mental remedies that can help us become stronger, more peaceful, and live more fully right here in our actual lives? That's precisely what the book I want to introduce you to today sets out to prove. It's called Philosophy for Life and Other Dangerous Situations by Jules Evans. This isn't just another introduction to philosophy. This is a journey exploring how the ideas of great thinkers from thousands of years ago can become our teachers, our companions, and our saviors for the soul in this turbulent 21st century. In today's video, we're going to unpack this book together. We'll explore why philosophy matters so much, meet the author, and hear his inspiring story. And crucially, we'll uncover some gems of wisdom from influential ancient schools of thought like Stoicism, Epicureanism, and the philosophy of Aristotle. I truly believe that after this video, you'll see philosophy in a whole new light and find at least a few useful ideas and a few practical tools to apply directly to your own life. So are you ready? Let's embark on this fascinating journey together with book-smart insights. So why do we need philosophy in modern life? Why could something seemingly ancient help us navigate the very current issues of the 21st century? As I mentioned earlier, many of us, myself included in the past, often hold some not-so-positive preconceptions about philosophy. It's seen as difficult, impractical, and detached from reality. We think it's for bearded professors in ivory towers, not for people juggling deadlines, electricity bills, or those nameless blues that sometimes hit us. But the truth is, philosophy, at its core, is simply the love of wisdom. Philo, love, Sophia, wisdom. And its original purpose was nothing less than helping humans answer the most fundamental questions. How should I live a good life? How can I find meaning? How should I deal with suffering? How can I achieve happiness and inner peace? Listen, do those questions sound familiar? Aren't these the very struggles that every single one of us faces at some point or another? When you feel lost about the future, unsure what to do with your life, the great philosopher Socrates reminded us thousands of years ago, the unexamined life is not worth living. He encouraged us to question ourselves, to explore our inner world, and to bravely face the tough questions to find our own path. When you feel like giving up, wanting to run away from the hardships and challenges of reality, the powerful thinker Nietzsche declared, "He who has a why to live for can bear almost any how. Philosophy helps us find our why, our reason for being, which in turn gives us the strength to endure almost any how, any adversity. And when you feel lost in the pursuit of happiness, constantly chasing external things, yet still feeling empty inside, Aristotle, another towering intellect, guided us. Happiness is the activity of the soul in accordance with perfect virtue. Happiness isn't some destination far away. It's about how we live and how we engage our souls every single day. You see, philosophy isn't some distant cloud. It's profound truths, whispers of ancient wisdom echoing right here in our daily lives. It touches upon our deepest desires, pains, and questions about the human condition. While modern science focuses on exploring the external world, from the vast cosmos to microscopic particles, from artificial intelligence to biotechnology, philosophy, quietly and persistently, keeps turning its gaze inward to the inner world of the human being. It's arguably the only discipline that truly asks, how can each of us live this one life we have to the fullest? We live in an age full of paradoxes. Technology advances at lightning speed, and material wealth seems more abundant. Yet people often feel more anxious, lonely, and lost than ever before. We face the pressure of making a living, the rising cost of living, and the grind of work that leaves us exhausted. How do we find balance? How do we find peace amidst financial stress? We live in a modern society, globally connected online, yet often feel distant, cold, and indifferent towards those around us, even our loved ones. How do we build meaningful relationships? We inevitably encounter difficulties, suffering, and failures. In those moments, we feel helpless, weak, and directionless. How do we get back up after falling? How do we find strength in adversity itself? This era has taught us many skills: how to make money, how to get promoted, and how to compete. But it seems to have forgotten to teach us the most crucial thing: how to be happy. That's why we see this sad reality. Young people have their own anxieties: academic pressure, future direction, identity crisis. Middle-aged people have their midlife crises: career, family, health, meaning. And older people have their own pains: loneliness, illness, regrets. It seems everyone in this era carries their own burdens, their own troubles. And this right here is where philosophy steps in, not as a dry theory, but as a practical toolkit, a source of inner strength, a guiding light. And Jules Evans' book, Philosophy for Life, is the key that unlocks this treasure chest of tools. So, who is the person who brought us this key? And what motivated him to write such a special book? Let's find out in the next part. The mind behind Philosophy for Life is Jules Evans. He isn't your traditional philosophy professor confined to lecture halls. Jules Evans is an honorary research fellow at the Center for the History of the Emotions at Queen Mary, University of London, a regular writer for major media outlets in Europe and America, and a passionate speaker on the philosophy of living. In 2013, he was even named one of Britain's new generation thinkers by the media. Sounds quite impressive, right? But what truly makes Jules Evans' story special and his book even more valuable lies in a less-known, challenging part of his past. That is, Jules Evans once suffered from severe depression and anxiety disorder, even complicated by post-traumatic stress disorder. He went through a long period of intense emotional pain, battling negative feelings, feeling lost, and nearly breaking down completely. He described feeling trapped in an inescapable emotional storm. It was during these darkest days that, through a twist of fate, he encountered cognitive behavioral therapy. Cognitive behavioral therapy is a very common and effective form of psychotherapy today, developed by brilliant psychologists like Albert Ellis and Aaron Beck. And here's the fascinating part. You know what? The deep roots, the main inspiration for cognitive behavioral therapy, come directly from ancient Stoic philosophy. That's right, you heard me correctly. The core principles of modern psychological therapy were found in the wisdom of philosophers who lived over 2,000 years ago. Specifically, cognitive behavioral therapy is heavily influenced by the thought of Epictetus, a famous Stoic philosopher. We'll explore more soon. Epictetus once said a classic line, one that I believe has the power to completely shift how we view life. Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them. Or, it's not things themselves that trouble us, but our judgments about things. This statement, from someone living in ancient Rome around 55 AD, became the foundation for one of cognitive behavioral therapy's most crucial principles, the ABC model. It might sound a bit academic, but I'll explain it simply. A. Activating event. This is an event that happens in your life. For example, your boss criticizes you. You break up with your partner. You get stuck in traffic. B. Beliefs. These are your beliefs, thoughts, interpretations, and judgments about event A. For example, my boss criticizing me means I'm useless. Breaking up means it's over. I'll never find anyone else. This traffic jam is a disaster. My whole day is ruined. C. These are the emotional and behavioral consequences that stem from your beliefs. B. For example, feeling sad, angry, anxious, hopeless emotions, or acting irritable, withdrawing, or giving up behaviors. Now, here's the crucial point that both Stoic philosophy and cognitive behavioral therapy emphasize. We often cannot change A, the event. The boss might still criticize, the partner might still leave, and traffic jams will still happen. But we absolutely can change B, our beliefs, our way of thinking about those events. And when B changes, then C, our emotions and behaviors will also change. For example, facing the same criticism from the boss, A, if you change your belief B to, this criticism is a chance for me to reflect and improve my work, or the boss is just commenting on a specific aspect, it doesn't mean I'm a failure, then the emotional consequence, C, won't be despair, but perhaps a determination to improve, or at least a calm acceptance. Do you see the magic here? The power doesn't lie in changing the external world, but in mastering our inner world, mastering our own thoughts and beliefs. It was this philosophy-based cognitive therapy that saved Jules Evans. It helped him realize that his negative emotions weren't the truth about himself or the world, but merely the result of distorted thinking patterns, limiting beliefs that he could learn to change. From the depths of depression, he found light again, rebuilt his life, and developed a wonderful mindset and life afterward. And from this profound personal experience, Jules Evans realized something vital. Philosophy didn't just save him, it could save countless others struggling with mental challenges in modern life. He observed that people today, despite appearing strong and independent, are often psychologically fragile and vulnerable. We might have money and physical health, but if our minds are brittle, even a small setback can shatter us. Many people don't realize that their emotions, thoughts, and behaviors are being influenced, even unconsciously programmed, by their family, culture, society, and those around them. They don't know that they can actually gain control over their emotions by learning wisdom from philosophy by training their minds. Therefore, Jules Evans wrote Philosophy for Life. His goal wasn't to turn us into academic philosophers, but to bring the torches of wisdom from ancient sages closer to everyday life. He wanted to introduce philosophy as a practical therapy, a set of skills and thinking methods to help us manage our emotions better, build resilience in the face of adversity, find meaning and purpose in life, live a happier and more fulfilling life. He hoped that by returning to ancient philosophical ideas, we could find the strength to face modern challenges, to fortify our inner selves, and to live more autonomously and consciously. So what specific gems of wisdom does Jules Evans want to share? His book introduces 12 different thinkers and schools, but for this video, we'll explore 3 of the most influential and applicable: Stoicism, Epicureanism, and Aristotelian philosophy. Let's start with the first one, a school that directly helped the author and can offer you extraordinary strength: Stoicism. When you hear Stoicism, you might picture someone cold, emotionless, trying to suppress all feelings. But that's an incomplete picture. Stoicism is actually an incredibly powerful and practical philosophy focused on helping us cultivate inner calm, courage, and wisdom to face whatever life throws our way. It's like training the mind to become a warrior, a sturdy fortress against life's storms. To help you grasp the power of this philosophy, I want to share a true story that Jules Evans includes in the book. It's the story of Rhonda Cornum, a flight surgeon serving on a helicopter during the Gulf War in 1991. One day, her helicopter was shot down. She woke up with numerous severe injuries: both arms broken, a broken finger, a torn knee ligament, and a badly injured back. But the nightmare wasn't over. She and another survivor were captured by Iraqi soldiers. On the bumpy truck ride to their prison camp, severely injured and helpless, Rhonda Cornum was arrested by one of the Iraqi soldiers. Her male colleague, tied up beside her, could only watch in anguish. It's hard to imagine the physical and emotional agony she must have endured in that moment. Injured, captured, and brutally violated. After being thrown from the truck, her male colleague, filled with sympathy and admiration, said to her, "You must be in incredible pain. I think you're so strong." And do you know how Rhonda Cornum replied? She said, "Well, what do you expect me to do? Cry?" For her at that moment, crying or wallowing in misery was useless. Later, imprisoned, facing total loss of freedom, terrible conditions, and the constant threat of death, she eventually, thankfully, was rescued. What's even more astonishing is Rhonda Cornum's life afterward. She wasn't haunted or defined by that horrific past. She didn't let the trauma destroy her life. On the contrary, she became a lecturer on comprehensive soldier fitness, teaching resilience to U.S. military personnel. When speaking about the assault, she often said something thought-provoking. "Being raped wasn't the worst thing that ever happened to me. How could someone possess such extraordinary inner strength?" Rhonda Cornum shared that during those darkest hours, she clung to a crucial life principle, one she later recognized as the core of Stoic philosophy. "I will focus only on changing what I can change, and I will not complain or waste energy on what I cannot change." This is the golden key of Stoicism. It mirrors the concept of the circle of influence and circle of concern that Stephen Covey discussed in The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which we've also covered here on Book-Smart Insights. We should concentrate our efforts and mental energy only on what lies within our circle of influence, what we can actually control, and learn to accept and let go of what lies outside that circle. This philosophy became her mental armor, protecting her from the devastation of her external circumstances. It helped her conquer adversity through her own resilient inner strength. So who laid the groundwork for this powerful philosophy? One of the most iconic and inspiring figures of Stoicism is Epictetus. Epictetus's life itself is a phenomenal testament to the power of philosophy. He was born a slave in Hierapolis, modern-day Turkey. In ancient times, slaves were considered property, devoid of freedom or rights. Epictetus was even crippled by his first master, who broke his leg, leaving him lame for life. It seemed his life was destined for the darkness of slavery. But fortune smiled on him when he was sold to a different master in Rome, who recognized Epictetus's talent and passion for philosophy and allowed him to attend lectures by famous Stoics of the time. Gradually, Epictetus not only learned, but became a sharp philosopher himself. He even served as a secretary to Emperor Nero, though that relationship likely didn't end well. After gaining his freedom, Epictetus founded his own school of philosophy, attracting many students from the aristocracy, including Marcus Aurelius, the brilliant Roman emperor, who would also become a great Stoic philosopher. His Meditations is a masterpiece. Hearing this, you might think Epictetus must have become incredibly wealthy and powerful, right? From slave to teacher of emperors. But the reality was quite different. Epictetus lived a life of astounding poverty and simplicity. He resided in a basic hut, his possessions consisting of only a bed, a mat, and an oil lamp, and his door was never locked. Later, Emperor Domitian, believing Stoic philosophy wasn't conducive to his rule, banished Epictetus and many other philosophers from Rome. Yet, even in exile in Greece, Epictetus continued teaching and spreading his ideas until his death. So what enabled Epictetus, born into adversity, enduring physical pain, living in poverty and facing exile, to maintain such serenity, wisdom, and dignity? The secret lies in the central idea that guided his life, the very core of Stoicism, clearly distinguishing between what we can control and what we cannot control. Just think about it. How many things in life are outside our control? We cannot control the weather. We cannot control the past. We cannot fully control our health. We can take care of ourselves, but illness can still strike. We cannot fully control our wealth. Markets fluctuate, risks exist. We cannot control other people, their thoughts, feelings, actions, even those closest to us, like parents, children, partners, bosses, colleagues. We cannot control the government, the economy, or global events. And ultimately, we cannot control when we will die. As the Tibetans wisely say, we never know which will come first, tomorrow or the next life. So what is the only thing, the truly only thing, that we can completely control? Epictetus and the Stoics assert that it is our inner world, specifically our judgments about events, our beliefs, our desires and aversions, what we choose to pursue and what we choose to avoid, our decisions and actions. In short, we control how we think and how we react to the world. Epictetus pointed out that most human suffering stems from two fundamental errors related to this distinction. The first error is trying to control what is outside our control. We got angry because the rain ruined our picnic plans. We worry ourselves sick about an upcoming exam result. The result isn't fully controllable. Our effort in studying is. We suffer because a lover leaves, trying desperately to hold on to someone who no longer wants to stay. We get frustrated because others don't act the way we want them to. When we try to do these things and fail because they are inherently uncontrollable, we feel helpless, angry, guilty, anxious, and disappointed, even leading to depression. The second error is not taking enough responsibility for what is within our control. Instead of focusing on changing our own negative thoughts and beliefs, we blame external circumstances on the outside world. Blame parents because my childhood was unhappy. Blame friends because they betrayed me. Blame partners because he/she was terrible. Blame the boss because the boss is unfair. Blame the economy, society, fate. We don't master our reactions, easily losing our temper, saying hurtful things and acting impulsively. And what's the end result? Suffering, helplessness, and feeling like a victim of life. We resent how unfair life seems. Do you see the irrationality here? We waste energy on things we cannot change, yet neglect the very kingdom where we have absolute sovereignty, our own minds. So what is the Stoic solution? Epictetus offers two incredibly practical pieces of advice. Advice 1. Do not blame yourself or feel guilty or ashamed for things outside your control. Like Rhonda Cornum being assaulted. It wasn't her fault. She didn't need to torment herself with, "If only I hadn't been on that flight." It happened. It was outside her control. If you were born into a difficult family situation, it's not your fault. If you experience an accident or unexpected illness, it's not your fault. Accepting this frees us from unnecessary burdens of guilt and shame. Advice 2. Take full responsibility for what is within your control, your choices, judgments, and actions. The Stoics believed that every moment in life, good or bad, is an opportunity to practice virtue, to exercise wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. Epictetus was born a slave, crippled. That was his opportunity to practice acceptance and seek inner freedom. Rhonda Cornum, captured and violated, that was her opportunity to practice resilience and master her response. When you're stuck in traffic, it's an opportunity to practice patience. When someone treats you poorly, it's an opportunity to practice calmness and choose a wise response instead of retaliating. Always remind yourself, between stimulus from the outside world and response, your reaction, there is a space. Within that space lies our power to choose, our freedom, and our strength. We are not puppets pulled by circumstance. We decide how we respond. Stoicism teaches us to become architects of our lives from the inside out, regardless of external fluctuations. It doesn't promise a life free from difficulty, but it promises that we possess the inner strength to face and overcome any difficulty. It helps us build a solid mental fortress where we find true peace and freedom. It sounds a bit tough and demands a lot of effort, doesn't it? Is there a gentler philosophy, one focused on enjoying life's pleasures? Yes, there is. Let's explore a completely different, more tranquil and poetic perspective from Epicureanism in the next part. If Stoicism is like training a strong warrior, then Epicureanism is like cultivating a peaceful inner garden, a place where we learn to find happiness in the simplest, quietest things. When you hear Epicureanism, your mind might jump to indulgence in material pleasures, feasting, drinking, and pursuing sensual delights. But that's a common misconception and completely misrepresents the philosophy of Epicurus, the founder of this school. Epicurus lived around the 4th century BC in Greece, concurrent with the rise of Stoicism. However, instead of engaging in politics or fiery public debates, Epicurus and his friends pooled their money to buy a house with a garden on the outskirts of Athens. They simply called it the garden. There, they lived a rather reclusive life, almost detached from the noisy world outside. It's said that at the entrance to the garden hung a sign that read, "Stranger, here you will do well to tarry. Here our highest good is pleasure." So what was this pleasure Epicurus spoke of? Was it the same as the fun we often chase today? Fancy houses, fast cars, designer clothes, lavish parties, expensive vacations? Absolutely not. Epicurus argued that those kinds of material pleasures often come with anxiety, fear of loss, fatigue, having to work hard to obtain them, and never bring true satisfaction. Greed is bottomless. He called these empty desires. The true pleasure, the highest happiness, according to Epicurus, is a state called ataraxia. This word translates roughly to serenity, tranquility, a state of being undisturbed by anxieties, fears, or pains, both physical and mental. How do we achieve ataraxia? Epicurus offered a rather simple formula. Firstly, satisfy natural and necessary desires, our basic needs for survival and well-being, like enough food, clean water, safe shelter, and crucially, friendship. Epicurus highly valued friendship, considering it a major source of joy and a balm for the S. Secondly, avoid natural but unnecessary desires. Examples include gourmet food instead of simple nourishment and overly luxurious clothing instead of just being warm. These might offer fleeting pleasure, but aren't essential for long-term happiness and can lead to complications. Thirdly, completely eliminate empty and unnatural desires. These are desires imposed by society, like fame, power, and excessive wealth. Epicurus believed pursuing these only brings anxiety and stress, and never leads to real peace. So, what was the ideal life according to Epicurus? It was a life of simplicity and self-sufficiency, focused on simple yet sustainable joys. Having good friends to share life with, having basic food, drink, and shelter, enjoying good health. He advocated moderation to maintain health. And most importantly, having a calm mind, free from tormenting fears, especially fear of death and fear of the gods. Epicurus argued they weren't to be feared, and unnecessary desires. He believed that happiness wasn't something complicated or hard to attain. It's right here, in the simplest things, if we learn how to appreciate the present moment and reduce our unnecessary wants. Do you see how this contrasts sharply with how modern society often operates? We're constantly bombarded by advertising and images of luxurious lifestyles. And we are encouraged to want more, have more, and be more. We think that climbing higher on the material ladder will make us happier. But in reality, we often get caught on a hedonic treadmill. Acquiring one thing only makes us want the next, and satisfaction is always temporary. Epicurus seems to be speaking to us across 2,400 years. Stop. Look at what you already have. True happiness is much simpler than you think. Of course, Epicurus's philosophy also faced criticism. Some argued that this lifestyle was too selfish, focused only on oneself and friends within the garden, neglecting broader society and progress. If everyone lived like that, would society advance? It's a valid question, and perhaps we don't need to live in complete seclusion like Epicurus. But his lessons remain incredibly valuable in today's high-pressure, temptation-filled world. Learn to cherish small joys. A hot cup of coffee in the morning, a meaningful conversation with a loved one, a walk in the park, reading a good book. Japanese author Haruki Murakami, perhaps influenced by Epicurus, calls these small, certain happinesses. Focus on noticing and savoring these simple moments. Live in the present. Don't dwell too much on the future or regret the past. Happiness can only be felt in the here and now. Focus on what you're doing and experience it fully. Reduce unnecessary material desires. Ask yourself, do I really need this to be happy? Becoming less dependent on material things frees you up, reduces anxiety, and gives you more time and energy for what truly matters: health, relationships, and personal growth. Seek tranquility. Even if you can't live in seclusion, try to create quiet spaces in your day and your week for your mind to rest and reconnect with yourself, away from the noise and hustle of the external world. Meditation, journaling, and spending time alone in nature are wonderful ways. Jules Evans shares the story of a woman named Sue who is battling cancer. Sue said that Epicurean philosophy helped her find joy even during her most difficult days. "I know my future has been taken away, but I can still find pleasure in the present. I try to enjoy whatever I'm doing, whether it's yoga, walking, or just talking to my husband. I realize that happiness is really simple. It's about savoring the moments. Sadly, as Sue noted, we often forget this, getting caught up in trivial matters and endless worries, and missing the beauty of life unfolding right before us. Epicureanism reminds us to open our hearts to simple joys, to slow down, and to feel more deeply. So we have Stoicism helping us face adversity strongly, and Epicureanism helping us find peace in simplicity. Is anything missing? Perhaps a guide on how to live rightly, ethically, to achieve a deeper kind of happiness, something called flourishing of the soul. Let's turn to the great philosopher Aristotle in the final part of our exploration. When listing the giants of Western philosophical history, Aristotle is unavoidable. He wasn't just a brilliant philosopher, but also a scientist, logician, biologist, political theorist, but true polymath. He was Plato's most outstanding student and the tutor of Alexander the Great, one of history's greatest military leaders. Aristotle's influence on Western civilization is immense and lasted for centuries. Unlike Epicurus, who focused on individual tranquility, Aristotle had a broader view of happiness. He called the ultimate goal of human life eudaimonia. This word is often translated as happiness, but it carries a deeper, more comprehensive meaning, closer to human flourishing, living well, and living a meaningful and complete life. So how does one achieve eudaimonia? Aristotle didn't believe it was through pursuing mere pleasure, like the misunderstanding of Epicurus, or chasing wealth and fame. He asserted, eudaimonia is the activity of the soul in accordance with perfect virtue. In other words, true happiness, the flourishing of the soul, comes from living a virtuous life, cultivating and practicing good character traits, virtues. But what is virtue? And how do we know if we are living virtuously? This is where Aristotle introduced an extremely important and practical concept, the golden mean, also known as the middle way. Aristotle believed that every virtue is a perfect balance point situated between two opposing extremes, one of excess and one of deficiency, both of which are vices. Sounds a bit abstract, so let me give you some concrete examples Aristotle used. Virtue, courage, excess, vice, rashness, recklessness, rushing foolishly into danger without thinking. Deficiency, vice, cowardice, excessive fear, failing to face challenges or stand up for what's right. Golden mean, virtue, courage, feeling fear appropriately, but still acting rightly despite danger, with consideration and judgment. Virtue, generosity, excess, wastefulness or prodigality, giving away too much, thoughtlessly, to the point of self-harm or inefficiency. Deficiency, stinginess, miserliness, hoarding wealth and being unwilling to share. Golden mean, generosity, giving the right amount to the right people at the right time, considering one's own means and others' needs. Virtue, wittiness, good humor. Excess, buffoonery, clownishness, joking excessively, inappropriately, hurting others. Deficiency, boorishness, lack of humor, unable to take a joke, overly serious, lacking social grace. Golden mean, wittiness or good humor, knowing how to joke intelligently and tactfully, bringing joy without causing offense. Virtue, proper pride, self-respect. Excess, vanity, arrogance, overestimating oneself, boasting. Deficiency, undue humility, timidity, underestimating oneself, lacking self-confidence. Golden mean, proper pride, self-respect, knowing one's own worth, having self-esteem without arrogance, being modest but not self-deprecating. Do you see how practical this golden mean philosophy is? It's similar to Confucius's concept of the middle way in the East. In everything, avoid extremes and find the most suitable point. It doesn't demand absolute perfection, but encourages us to constantly seek balance and moderation in all our thoughts, feelings, and actions. Another crucial point Aristotle stressed is that virtue is not innate. It must be cultivated through practice and habit. We don't become courageous just by reading about courage. We must act courageously, repeatedly, even when afraid, until it becomes part of our character. The same applies to patience, kindness, honesty. Happiness, according to Aristotle, is not a passive state, but an activity. The activity of the soul, living and acting in accordance with reason and virtue. It's a continuous process of learning, training, and improving oneself. Aristotle even suggested that we can find eudaimonia even when facing hardships and challenges, or even sacrificing our lives for noble causes, like dying for one's country, for justice, or to protect loved ones. Because in those actions, the soul is operating at the highest level of virtue. This seems different from Epicurus, who prioritized personal peace above all. So, what does Aristotle's philosophy remind us of? True happiness isn't just fleeting pleasant feelings, but the holistic development of character and morality. Always seek balance, the golden mean, in all aspects of life, avoiding extremes. Cultivating virtue is a lifelong journey requiring effort, practice, and forming good habits. Action matters more than words. Living virtuously means living actively and consciously. We've now explored 3 fascinating lenses of ancient philosophy: the resilience and self-mastery of Stoicism, the peace and simplicity of Epicureanism, and the flourishing through virtue and balance of Aristotle. Each school offers invaluable lessons, but the question remains: which philosophy is ultimately right? Which school should we follow? How can we blend these ideas into our own lives? Let's move to the final section to synthesize and draw out the most essential takeaways. After journeying through the intellectual gardens of the Stoics, Epicurus, and Aristotle, you might be wondering, so which philosophy should I ultimately choose as my guide for life? And the answer that Jules Evans and I want to offer you is that there is no single correct answer. The most wonderful thing about philosophy, especially the practical philosophy this book champions, is that it's not a rigid dogma demanding blind faith. Instead, think of these ideas as a rich toolkit, a diverse menu from which you can select the mental nourishment that best suits your taste and your soul's nutritional needs at any given time, in any specific situation. Your life is your own, and only you truly know what you need most right now. If you're feeling lost, weak, easily overwhelmed by difficulties, lacking willpower and purpose, then the lessons on resilience, on focusing on what you can control from Stoicism, might be the powerful mental medicine you need. It's like a solid rock to lean on. If you're feeling overly stressed, exhausted, caught up in the rat race, becoming irritable, materialistic, greedy, losing connection with yourself and simple joys, then the philosophy of tranquility, enjoying the present and reducing desires from Epicureanism, could be like a cool, refreshing stream, helping you slow down and find inner peace. If you're seeking a moral compass, wanting to build a meaningful, deeper life by cultivating character, striving for harmony and balance in all areas, then the guidance on virtue and the golden mean from Aristotle will be a wise teacher leading the way. Personally, as I read this book and reflected, I realized I was already unconsciously or consciously borrowing from all 3 schools in my daily life. Stoicism reminds me to maintain discipline, to face challenges at work and in life with fortitude, and to take responsibility for my reactions instead of blaming others. It helps me worry less about things I can't control. Epicureanism influences my lifestyle in appreciating simplicity, finding joy in small things, loving tranquility, and being close to nature. It helps me resist the lure of flashy material possessions. And Aristotle is present in most everyday interactions and behaviors. I constantly try to remind myself to uphold virtue and seek the golden mean, eating in moderation, sleeping enough, working appropriately, speaking thoughtfully, exercising moderately, avoiding extremes, maintaining harmony and balance in thoughts and actions. You see, we can absolutely weave our own tapestry of life philosophy by selecting and combining different threads of wisdom from various thinkers. What matters isn't labeling yourself a Stoic or an Epicurean, but whether you can apply their principles to make your life better. Many readers worldwide have shared how philosophy for life genuinely changed their perspective on hardship and happiness. One comment I read on Goodreads said, "This book doesn't just explain philosophy accessibly, it shows you how to turn those ideas into concrete actions. It's like a practical manual for the soul." Another review stated, "I used to think philosophy was dry, but Jules Evans makes it vivid and incredibly relevant to the issues I'm facing. I found so many useful tools for dealing with stress and anxiety." As the psychologist and Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl said, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." Philosophy is the tool that helps us widen that space, enabling us to make wiser, freer choices. So right now, try asking yourself, of the 3 schools we explored, which philosophy resonates most strongly with you at this moment? Is there one small principle, for example, distinguishing control, finding a small joy, seeking the mean in one habit, you could try applying to your life starting tomorrow? Remember, philosophy isn't a competition to see who knows more. It's a personal journey towards living better. My dear friends, we've taken quite a journey together through the pages of Philosophy for Life and the wisdom of ancient sages. So, what's the final message, the core lesson we can carry forward? It's this: philosophy is not a passive subject. It is an active art of living. It doesn't stop at reading, contemplating, or debating lofty ideas. Philosophy truly comes alive when we turn it into action, when we use it as a tool to navigate daily life, to engage in dialogue with ourselves, and to make conscious choices. When you feel the pressure of the outside world weighing heavily on you, when you feel trapped by reality, losing joy and meaning, when you feel helpless in the face of difficulties, instead of just looking outward and blaming, try to calmly turn inward and look at your own heart and mind. Because as philosophy shows us, our helplessness regarding the external world often stems from helplessness, a lack of control within our own inner world. Philosophy is a special kind of knowledge. It infuses energy into the human spirit. It doesn't demand blind belief in anything. It simply asks us to reflect, to question ourselves, to find solutions to problems from the inside out. When inner issues are resolved, the external problems in life, though they may not disappear entirely, become much easier to face. The book Philosophy for Life doesn't actually advise you to pick one single philosophy as a rigid guide. Instead, it encourages us to use philosophy as a means, to use the thoughts of ancient sages as guiding teachers, and to open up a path that helps us live happier, more meaningfully, more autonomously right here in our present life. Instead of letting life passively shape us, day after day, drifting by in fatigue and reacting instinctively, let's try to talk to yourself regularly. Set aside quiet time to ask yourself how you're feeling, what you're thinking, and what truly matters to you. Reflect more deeply. Don't just experience events. Reflect on them, on your reactions, and on the lessons learned. Pay attention to experience. Focus on the present and notice what's happening inside and around you. Frequently check in with thoughts and feelings. Identify negative thinking patterns, uncomfortable emotions, and question them instead of being swept away by them. Find thoughts and actions that make you feel genuinely happy and meaningful based on insights from philosophy. Of course, what I've shared today is just a small slice of this wonderful book. Philosophy for Life introduces 12 different thinkers and schools, offering a much richer treasure trove of tools and perspectives. I sincerely hope that today's discussion has opened a new door for you, helping you see the beauty and practical power of Western philosophy. I hope it has sparked your curiosity and desire to learn more. The most important question isn't what does philosophy say, but rather, how do these philosophical concepts impact you? How can you use that philosophy in your life? That's everything I wanted to share about Philosophy for Life by Jules Evans, a book that can truly change how you view life and face its challenges. I believe that no matter who you are or where you are in life, you'll find something useful and profound in the wisdom of these ancient thinkers. I'd love to hear your thoughts and reflections after watching this video. Which philosophy resonated most with you? Are you planning to apply any specific lesson to your life? Or would you like book-smart insights to dive deeper into another specific philosopher, like Nietzsche or Schopenhauer, perhaps? Please leave a comment below. Let's discuss and learn more together. If you found this video helpful and valuable, please don't hesitate to hit the like button to show your support. And please share this video with anyone you think might also need these powerful mental tools. Especially if you're new here, make sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos sharing self-development insights through great books from Book-Smart Insights. Once again, thank you so much for your time and for joining me throughout today's video. I wish you all peace, wisdom, and happiness on your journey. I'll see you in the next video.